yet reserved boy, you are now an outgoing champion with self-confidence, determination, and perseverance. Your peers, having chosen you as their captain, recognize your leadership, character, and special qualities as ideals, matching their personal preference. You serve as a model for them to evaluate. Your skill and tireless pursuit of your goals have enabled you to reach the summit. You have competed against the very best. You proved yourself better than most and as good as any. Perhaps outscored, but never outcompeted. You have been valiant. Life's journey will take you along many paths. Through wrestling, you have demonstrated success awaits, and you are worthy of it. Seek transit gloria. Love and best wishes, Mom and Dad. And this really helped me because knowing that I gave my father and mother joy over the years when I wrestled, that meant a lot to me. So I just wanted to share that letter from my dad. On a lighter note, my dad shared hundreds of bad jokes through email, and probably most all of us have received dozens and dozens and dozens of really horrible jokes. But there were a few good ones. Well, I should say a few that weren't all bad. And I'd like to share some of them with you through my children. So I think Jessica was dying to tell hers first. So Jessica, if you'd like to come up, let me just prepare your...
An elderly couple had just learned how to send text messages on their mobile phones. The wife was a romantic type, and the husband was more of a no-nonsense guy. One afternoon, the wife went out to meet a friend for coffee. She decided to send her husband a romantic text message, and she wrote, "If you are sleepy, send me your dreams. If you are laughing, send me your smile. If you are eating, send me a bite. If you are drinking, send me a sip. If you are crying, send me your tears. I love you." The husband texted back, "I'm on the toilet. Please advise."
Brandon, let's find the one you were going to... Sorry, I'm just trying to find it.
A must-read for grandparents. At one point during a game, the coach called one of his 9-year-old baseball players aside and asked, "Do you understand what cooperation is, what a team is?" The little boy nodded in the affirmative. "Do you understand that what matters is whether we win? Do you understand that what matters is whether we win or lose together as a team?" The little boy nodded yes. So the coach continued, "I'm sure you know when an out is called, you shouldn't argue, curse, attack the umpire, or call him a peckerhead, dickhead, or asshole. Do you understand all that?" The little boy nodded yes again. He continued, "And when I take you out of the game so another boy gets a chance to play too. It's not good sportsmanship to call your coach a dumbass or a shithead, is it? The little boy shook his head no. Good, said the coach. Now go over there and explain all that to your grandmother.
Brandon really wanted to tell that joke because he got to swear so much. Thank you, Brandon. All right. And I'm gonna read one as well. For those of you who don't know, my mother was born and raised in Tennessee. So my father sent this to me and he said, "Your Southern heritage." All right. So, a redneck love poem, and from what I gather, this actually won an award in 1912 or something like that. All right. Susie Lee Dunn fell in love. She planned to marry Joe. She was so happy about it all. She told her Happy so. Happy told her, Susie gal, you'll have to find another. I just as soon yo ma don't know, but Joe's yo half brother. So Susie put aside her Joe and planned to marry Will. But after telling Poppy this, he said, there's trouble still. You can't marry Will, my gal, and please don't tell your mother. But Will and Joe and several mo, I know is yo half brother. But Mama knew and said, my child, just do what makes yo happy. Marry Will or marry Joe, you ain't no kin to Pappy. My Southern heritage. All right. Next up, I would love to welcome Werner Gossels from Wayland. Yeah, great. And so Werner and my father worked on many committees together in the town of Wayland, and I want us all to give Werner great support. He doesn't usually get up here and say much, so he's really stepping outside his bounds to talk, and I really appreciate it.
Hello, everybody. John Dyer was a remarkable person. We are here today to recall and celebrate his connection to our lives. I first met John when he was an elected member of the Wayland Planning Board during the middle 1970s. I was an observer at planning board meetings on behalf of the fledgling Wayland Business Association. What I observed was a hard-working group of planning board members meeting month after month with the principal owners of Boston Properties. The group hammered out the agreements required by the new and innovative planned unit development zoning bylaw at the time to develop 300 acres of Mainstone Farm in Wayland into condominium units. John often helped to find common ground between the town's position and Boston Properties' interests so that progress could be made. These many years later, it was clear that the complicated reshaping of that part of Wayland evolved beautifully. My recollection is that the planning board preserved 1/3 or 100 acres of that pristine part of Wayland as permanent, open public space. Sort of consistent with the conversation about conservation land in Dennis. Same general idea. 100 acres was preserved as open public space because of John and the planning board's work during those years. Around 1975, the towns of Wayland and Sudbury responded to reported dumping of septic tank pumpings into wetlands, voted to design and build a joint facility for processing the septic material safely. To accomplish this, a 10-member operations review committee was created, made up of the 5 major boards from each of the 2 towns. I volunteered and was appointed as a planning board's representative. Under the superb leadership of Bill Cooper, Sudbury's Board of Health representative, the ORC not only designed and built the facility, but obtained 92.5% of the funding from federal and state sources because of the new technology involved in doing this. The plant became operational in 1980 and processed septic successfully for the homeowners of the 2 towns for 28 years. Sorry about this. I bring up the septic committee connection because John was involved in sponsoring the original feasibility study, which encouraged the 2 towns to attempt to build such a facility. About 20 years later, about 1997 or 98, John himself joined the septic committee as one of Wayland's representatives overseeing the operation of the facility. A few years later, I was asked by the Wayland Board of Health to go back onto the committee as their representative. John, Bob Gottberg of Sudbury, and I immediately formed a working group of 3, determined to reverse financial, operational, and treatment quality problems facing the aging plant. It was during the 2 years working very closely with John that I came to admire him so very much. He was a can-do person every day that I knew him. Not only was he bright and hard-working, but he was very good at dealing with the operational people in the plant. By following the guidance of our engineering consultants on process improvements, building teamwork with the 3 licensed plant operators, and studying and implementing financial steps, we were able to turn the plant dynamics around dramatically. The plant increased processing capacity, which in turn improved the financial performance of the facility. Plant operations began to add to the financial surplus instead of consuming it. John was chairman of the committee which gave the town of Wayland the magnificent Veterans Memorial at the entrance of the town building. As members of Wayland's Beautification Committee, we were asked to help at the memorial by weeding and watering the new plantings. We were volunteers in one organization, supporting the efforts of John's committee of volunteers to give something special to the town of Wayland. John had a wide range of interests and the ability to get important things done. My connection with him ranged from land use planning to safely processing septic to building a memorial to the sacrifice of our veterans. John occasionally joined the debate at town meetings, usually in an effort to suggest ways in which differing points of view might be bridged toward a sensible course of action. John spent a lifetime selflessly helping to improve all of our lives in town. He was always positive and constructive in his approach. He brought people together to accomplish significant goals. For 50 years, it was John who sat through long evening meetings, often after working all day, doing the volunteer work of town boards. It was he who had to clear the snow and ice from his windshield on cold evenings before heading home. Recently, the Public Ceremonies Committee in Wayland inaugurated a new Good Government Award in the name of my late brother Peter. Qualifications for recipients of the award and John's qualifications for the award could not be more closely aligned. And I'm really speaking to Wayland people here. Please join me in submitting John's name and qualifications to the Public Ceremonies Committee the next time they request nominations for the Good Government Award. It was my pleasure to know and work with John Dyer. He was a remarkable person and friend.
very much, Warner. That was wonderful. My father was an incredibly special human being, and he lived his life in a state of perpetual gratitude. He was not a rich man, but he wanted for nothing, and is one of the very few men I know who literally achieved every single thing he aspired to. He served his country. He got the girl of his dreams. He achieved academic excellence. He had a most fascinating, productive, and influential career with meaning. He served the town of Wayland for over 50 years. He treasured his family and extended family. He enjoyed the spoils of his hard work by purchasing a wonderful vacation home on Cape Cod with his sister, where friends and family came to visit year after year after year. Beginning with his education, my dad graduated from high school at the very young age of 16. He went on to study chemistry at Boston University and later was accepted to the most prestigious graduate school, MIT Sloan. Not only was he superior at games like Jeopardy and Trivial Pursuit, but he had been the Boston area Grandmaster bridge player as a young adult. Although my father was always the smartest or among the smartest in every room he ever entered, he never made anyone feel less than himself. He always saw good in people and possessed the singular, most positive attitude of anyone I have ever met. He always looked to encourage everyone and thrived on helping you feel better when you were low. My dad was a true friend to many, many people. My dad knew, as I do, that each and every one of us in this room, in his Wayland community, in our great country, and every person who has ever lived and ever will live is incredibly special, deserves our respect,